Thank you very much. Philip, Dustin, and Logan got all three of you. That's wonderful. Now, do we have any more low power and short time check-in? Come down with the call sign for that.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WC4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
You, Ted. I don't know what power you have. If it's 5 watts, that's great. You sound like you're transmitting at 50 watts. That's wonderful. Okay, now, let's see. General check-in. So once again, come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. And please do it slowly. Thank you very much, Ted, for doing that, because I don't do this very often. So we're going to do this in groups of 3. The first 3 underneath general tech check-ins come now with your call sign, phonetically, name, and where you're transmitting from.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill in Irving. November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, in Dallas. Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey J, near Weatherford.
The net recognizes Bill and Tony and James. Welcome to Skynet. Okay, the next 3 people, please come now with your call sign, phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Oh, the net recognizes Tom and Brenda and James. Now we have 2 Jameses. This is interesting. Very good. So, the next 3 people come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening. The next 3 people, please. Oh, yeah, JJ, I see that you've got your registered calling in phonetically and it's spaced out over on Echolink. I'll get to you in a minute. Okay, next 3 people over radio frequencies.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa, Lima, Huey, Richardson. Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike, Thomas and Euless.
Okay, let's stop there. Huey and Robert, I've got you. I missed the last one. You were kind of low on audio. Please come now once again.
Certainly, I say again, this is Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike, Thomas and Euless. How copy?
Thomas got you very well that time. You must have boosted your output, so you're much clearer that time. Thank you very much. Okay, next 3 people, come now with your call signs phonetically, slowly, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening. The next 3 people.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Branch.
Good evening, this is Alpha Golf 9er Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas. 89 energy.
Okay, I've got Bill, Antonio, thank you very much, and I'm going to recognize JJ since he's checked in over on Echolink. Okay, so we'll go ahead and continue taking check-ins, but this time over Echolink. Come now with your call sign, phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening. If you'd like to be recognized over on Echolink. I've got you, JJ. Everyone else, you can jump in now.
India 5, Golf, Bravo, Tango. Chris in Godley, Texas.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-ray. Kelly in Quinlan.
Okay, then that recognizes Chris and Kayla over on, Kelly, why did I say Kayla? Chris and Kelly over on Echolink, and I think, I'm not sure if I've got, let's see now, Lewis. I don't think I've got Lewis on the list right now. I'm going to write you down, Lewis. Good to see you, Philip. You've already, I believe, you've already checked in, so I think I've on Echolink I've got. So come now, any mode, radio or Echolink, if you'd like to get checked in right now for Skynet this evening, come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Well, that's a shame. We're not even halfway to 42. We're only at 19 so far. That's including myself. All right. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest at licensed hams. Come now with your call sign if you'd like to make an announcement. I'm sorry. I'm reading things over on Echolink. That's why I'm laughing. Go ahead. Come now if you have an announcement with your call sign.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Mr. TechNet Net Control Tony, come now with your announcement. It's got to be something important, I'm sure.
Well, important might be too strong a word for this first item. Don't forget, this is not the last net of the evening. We have the Afterglow movie discussion coming up at about 10:30 or so, featuring the science fiction horror film, The Device, from 2014. Tomorrow is a fifth Sunday, so as I've mentioned earlier, there's no Racy's Net or meeting on the air tomorrow night. You're always welcome to organize your own surprise net if you want to. We have Ham Fixin's Net coming up Monday at 7, and the Dallas Amateur Radio Club monthly meeting coming up Tuesday with the board meeting at 6 and the general meeting at 7, both in person at the Dallas Medical Center, third floor community room. That's at the northeast corner of Webb Chapel and James. Please remember that you do have to wear a mask. They do a fever check as you go in with a little electronic television thermometer thing. Our presenter is Kevin, N5KRG, who will speak about antenna tuners and analyzers. What is it that they will do? I hope to hear you give your comments on the movie. Join us for Ham Fixins, and then see you at the meeting.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, let me talk about a couple of other announcements here. The AMSAT, Radio Amateur Satellite Group, has 2 nets available in the Dallas area. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, you will need an Echolink installed, and you need to be registered on Echolink. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT, A-M-S-A-T. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at amsatnet.com. This net originates from Houston, Texas. The Dallas AMSAT Net East is every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88, private line tone 110.9. Tuesdays, Tom N5HYP is our net control for that. All are welcome to check in. The first Tuesday of the month, that means this coming Tuesday, the DARC club meeting happens, so there's no AMSAT East net that night. Now, Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, private line tone 110.9, positive offset. Okay, let me see. We've already talked about Hands Fixin' That. That happens on Mondays, but other Mondays, the second Monday of the month is Ecom 101. Third week, the third Monday of each month is Ham Fixin' That again, second helpings. Fourth Monday of the month is GeekNet, and the fifth one would be SurpriseNet, and that only happens like 4 times a year. We can't forget about something else that happens on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Melissa, I heard her on the radio earlier during TechNet, but I didn't see her check in this evening here. But that's Search City. It's the most disaster-prone place in the entire universe. But it's every Friday on this repeater at 8 p.m., so you are welcome to join them. They have all sorts of problems that happen there. They've even had zombies on there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and much more. Yeah. So, of course, Saturday nights there's TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. That happened earlier tonight, just before, and of course Skynet happens Saturday nights. On the first and third Sundays, we have Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting. We've already talked about that. ARRL Net, National Traffic System Net, happens every night at 6:30 p.m. on this repeater. Oh my, we have a lot of nets going on, so a lot of activity on this repeater. That's a good thing. All right, let me see. Now, there is something that happens after Skynet. It's called the Afterglow Movie Net, and we have an expert at this. His name is Tom, and he's running the slides. If you're over here on YouTube, you can see the slides that are happening over here. And Tom, could you tell us all about this movie that's going to happen? Something about the device?
Why, yes, Jazz, I can do exactly that. But first, I want to make an announcement. For the first time ever on our stream, there is a survey. If you go to the Facebook link for the survey, for the stream, you will find the survey question, which is, how punny is Jazz? And your choices are punalicious, punny, unfairly punny, or not punny at all. So by all means, go over there. You'll have to click on the link, and then on the actual screen, you just click which one of the 4 answers you have available to you, and you can vote. But that's only on the Facebook page, so you'll have to go over there if you're on YouTube. Okay, tonight's movie. Abby and Rebecca stopped and looked at the object sitting on the edge of the forest trail. It had all the markings of an alien device, or perhaps some rare Star Trek collectible, like a tricorder or a communicator. After bringing it home, the husband of one of the sisters jumps for joy, explaining, "This is a rare 1966 original series Star Trek USS Enterprise tricorder." He grabs it and runs to his room. The two sisters wonder what monster they have unleashed. The problem is, it's not a rare original series Star Trek USS Enterprise tricorder, but an alien device of unknown purpose or design. So join us tonight at 10:30 p.m. for The Device from 2014. Back to you, Chaz, KE5ICX.
Thank you so much, Tom. Of course, Chaz is very funny. And I already have two other people checked in over on Echolink, Miss Disaster City, Melissa. And I also have Billy checked in. I've already got you checked in, but do either one of you want to check in by voice over Echolink?
Go from your hotel. I want to do it over the radio. Search City, Melissa, good evening, Chaz.
Melissa, do you have one of those sashes that says Miss Disaster City on it? Miss Search City on it? Yeah, I'm just curious. You can answer that over Echolink if you like. Okay. Of course, the answer, of course, is Chaz is very funny. That is the answer to a question that I've heard recently. All right, so let's see now. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events where you can look through a telescope. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, August the 26th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Dallas and also held on Zoom. Club members will receive a link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting, usually about a week ahead of time. The featured speaker, now, drum roll. Can we do drum rolls online? Yeah, I think we can. It's not music, so. Is Callie Miller of Kelly, Texas. That's somebody that is on here, K5KTX. She's Mayor of Kelly, Texas, yeah. And she'll be talking about the task library. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions have begun once again. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there would be an opportunity for live reports from the task public observing sessions. Now, we don't have one usually on the fifth Saturday, so we don't have one tonight. But if the weather is good, next Saturday night, I might be broadcasting from that one that would be in Garland. So to get more information about that, go to the website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Callie, would you like to tell us a little bit more details about what you're going to talk about at the next Task Club meeting?
This is K5KTX, sure. It's going to be a fairly short meeting presentation, I think. But we do have a library. We have over 900 books in our library. Some of them are very old. I think the oldest book we have is from 1867, and we have some new books, and they're pretty fascinating to take a look at. We have some old atlases and things like that. So recently, over the last several months, I have been working on a project to get all of these books uploaded to an online app, which will make it much easier for TAS members to see what books are available and check them out right online or from their smart device. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about, is just promoting the library, but also talking about this project that I had worked on and how easy it is to check out a book from it. And we do have some great books, and so if you're a member, you can check out books from the library and save yourself some money from buying from Amazon or someplace else. So anyway, that'll be my presentation. Back to you, Chaz. This is K5KTX.
Thank you, Kelly. I really appreciate that. Now, let's hear from Bill about the National Space Society of North Texas. Bill, N5BB, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Chaz. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. We meet every month on the second Sunday afternoon of the month at 3:30 p.m. at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. If you have any interest in the National Space Society and or our local award-winning North Texas chapter, please contact me, space@byram.net, or N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net. The big event coming up in 2023 is going to be the International Space Development Conference 2023, which will be May the 25th to 28th of next year. That's right, Memorial Day kind of weekend area. It's going to bring in Frisco, our Dallas suburb, at a hotel there. The Embassy Suites by Hilton in Dallas, and there's a convention center there at that hotel. So that's where we will be. Our next meeting, which will be our August meeting, of course, will be on Sunday, August the 14th. That's the second Sunday of August at 3:30 p.m. in Irving. We don't have any other short-term events coming up in the next couple of weeks. We do have an event at the Fort Worth Museum of Space and History coming up. They're doing some kind of space day on August the 20th, Saturday. And our group will be there helping with that event. We had a lot of events in July, 3 of them, capped off by Moon Day, the big one. I think that's it for now. You can also find us at our Facebook page. Just look for National Space Society of North Texas. And we also have a website. You can also find it with the web search very easily. This is N5BB. Thank you, Chaz.
I'm scared to do this, but over on Echolink, Bill, there's somebody that said to ask you about your bionic eye, or eyes.
No idea what that has to do with space, but I have, back on June the 15th, I got a cataract surgery and got an implanted new lens in my right eye. And on Wednesday of this upcoming week, the same thing will be done on my left eye. And if you want me to talk about other things, if you need any construction material for your energy efficient project, small little pieces of, well, actually pretty good sized pieces of lumber, or plywood scrap, OSB, or OSIX sheathing material, you can go to recycling.byram.net. That's recycling.byram, BYROM.net. And you can see pictures and learn when you can next come over and for free grab anything you want. The next time will be 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. That's recycling.byram.net. Just because you opened the door wide there, Chaz, N5BB.
Why, thank you, Bill. I hope everyone's not bored with what you said. Well, come on, that was a funny joke. Okay, it's supposed to be up to the topic of the evening. But since I'm not in control, I've decided to combine the topic of the evening with Was Up, and so they're combined together tonight. So, yes, this is Chaz, KF5JHA, just to let you know my degrees in astrophysics. And I do work at the astrophysics labs and geology labs at the Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. And we call this segment of Skynet Was Up. Slide Master. Oh, he's already switched to slide 1. Slide number 2. The moon was at its new phase just a couple of days ago on July the 28th. Did you see the crescent moon this evening? I couldn't because it was cloudy. The current phase of the moon is a waxing crescent. On August the 5th, the moon will be at the first quarter phase. On August the 10th, the moon will be at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth, at a distance of 359,828 kilometers. On August the 11th, the moon will be full. On August the 19th, the moon phase will be the third quarter. On August the 22nd, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth, at a distance of 405,418 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. Last evening, it was kind of hard because there was clouds in the area to see this, but the moon and Mercury was in conjunction in the evening west-northwestern sky during strong twilight, but I couldn't see it because there was clouds. And tonight, there was clouds, so you couldn't see the crescent moon tonight either. I couldn't anyway. Also, last night and tonight, there is not one, not two, but 3 meteor showers at maximum. Tony, NT5TM, talked about this on TechNet. The 3 meteor showers are the Alpha Capricornids, the Southern Delta Aquarids, and the July Gamma Draconids. Now, how can you tell what meteor comes from what meteor shower can be determined by watching which direction the meteor has originated from, and then tracing it back to that constellation. The thin waxing crescent moon would not have interfered with the observing last night, nor tonight if it clears off enough. The best time to watch meteors is after midnight and before dawn. One of the best places to observe meteors is one of the 89 Texas state parks and wildlife areas, most of which are far away from the city lights. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. JJ, the reason why the waxing crescent moon doesn't wax your car is it's a lot further away. That's the reason why. Okay. Oh, Slide Master, that was slide number 5 that we're up to. On August the 1st, the planets Mars and Uranus will be about 1 degree apart in the early morning sky. Have you ever seen the planet Uranus before? This would be a good time to see it. Get a good pair of binoculars out and focus in on Mars, and then Mars will be, Uranus will be just a little bit away from Mars. Get a star map if you want to. You can find star maps. Just easily look them up. If you have a piece of software called Stellarium, zoom in on that date on August the 1st on the planet Mars, and you can see Uranus right beside it. Okay. Slide Master, slide number 6, please. I've been talking for a long time about the planets in the morning skies, but on August the 3rd, the planet Mercury will be about 1 degree away from the star Regulus. So just in a few days from now, on August the 3rd, if you didn't see Mercury tonight, then August the 3rd will be a good time because Mercury and Regulus will be in the northwestern evening sky. Slide Master, slide number 7. On August the 11th, Saturn and the Moon will be in conjunction in the early morning sky. So there's still things in the morning sky. Okay. Slide Master, slide number 8. We're going to begin our topic feature of the evening, starting with slide number 8. I'm so glad that Bob the cat is outside right now. The Perseid meteor shower peaks in just couple of weeks. This year, the Perseids peak on the night of August 11th and 12th. Unfortunately, the moon is just a few hours away from being full during the peak. But now, you can even see some of the meteors in the sky from the Perseids right now. This annual meteor shower is one of the major meteor showers of the year. It can be seen mainly from the northern hemisphere, but with most of the Earth's population living in the northern hemisphere, and with this being a warm summertime for the northern hemisphere, it's become the most famous and most widely observed meteor shower probably. Usually the best time to see meteors is after midnight and before morning twilight, because this is the side of the Earth that is running into the leftover clouds of debris from comets and asteroids. If the moon isn't interfering with the meteor shower, you can see about one meteor about every minute during the Perseid meteor shower peak. But of course, we've got a full moon, so this year we won't see that many. Years ago, I lived in Seattle, and I drove up into the Cascade Mountains onto a logging road and watched the Perseids. The hour before dawn, I saw 90 meteors with an average of about one meteor every 45 seconds. That was really fantastic. So if you get away from the city lights, you might be able to see that, but maybe not this year. With the full moon, you might as well stay in the city and watch them. Slide number 9, please. But why are they called the Perseid meteor shower? Perseus is one of the 88 constellations in the sky. The meteors seem to originate from the constellation of Perseus. This origination location is called the radiant point of the meteor shower. But why do meteors appear to come from the same point for the meteor shower? In Ohio, before September the 8th, 1966, we talked about driving through a snowfall. When you drive through a snowfall, then all of the snowflakes seem to come from a single point above and in front of your car. Do the snowflakes do that? Well, of course not. If you stop the car, then the snow looks like it's falling from overhead. So this effect is the result of the movement of the car. Slide master, slide number 10, please. The same is true for the meteor showers. The moving object is the Earth. The meteors look like they're coming from a point in space in the general direction of where the Earth is traveling. Of course, the movement of the meteor stream has no effect on the sky location too, but it has a little bit of an effect. But most of the time, the radiant point is located somewhere in the morning sky. Slide master, slide number 11, please. Now, where do all these meteors come from? Do the storks bring them? Storks. Comets and sometimes asteroids leave a trail of debris as they travel through the solar system. If this debris stream happens to intersect with the orbit of the Earth, voila, a meteor shower. So would comet cleanser be used during a meteor shower? Oh, come on, you can say this is a good joke over here. Yeah. The Perseid meteor shower is a result of swift-tidal comet leaving behind debris. Most of the meteors are specks of dust that run into the Earth's atmosphere so hard and so fast, the friction is so great that they burn up. It's sort of like you rubbing your hands together. To warm up your hands, you can rub them together slowly. If you rub them faster and faster, no, don't do that. Stop. I don't want you to hurt your hands. But I guess you can say that the meteors get rubbed out. Okay. Some of the debris is larger, some of the size of your fist, which should cause a very bright meteor. Extremely bright meteors are often called fireballs or bolides. Slide master, slide number 12. So when the future meteor is in outer space, we call it a meteoroid. When the particle runs in the atmosphere, we call it a meteor. If it does not burn up all the way in the atmosphere, and part of it lands on the ground, we call it a meteorite. TCU has a wonderful meteorite collection, and the museum has a booth just a short time ago at Moon Day. And I got to see some meteorites that they brought and showed us. There is a meteor crater in Odessa that you can visit. I've been there several times. Just watch out for the rattlesnakes. There's a sign there that says that. Details about meteor showers can be found at the International Meteor Organization website, IMO.net, or the American Meteor Society website, amsmeteors.org. Slide number 13, please. Oh, and why did I say before September the 8th, 1966 was when we talked about driving through a snowfall and describing meteor shower radiant point? Well, something happened on September the 8th, 1966. That was when Star Trek first aired on TV. And from that point onwards, we called the Star Trek effect, seeing the stars pass around the Starship Enterprise, seeming to come from a single point in front of them, just like a meteor shower. And that's your trivia for tonight, isn't it? This is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 14. Once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting is held on Friday, August the 26th. It'll be at 7:30 p.m. at the University of Dallas, and also held on Zoom. Featured speaker is K5KTX Kelly Miller, Mayor of Kelly, Texas. She'll be talking about the task library. And Saturday night public observing sessions have begun again. I might be transmitting from Garland, Texas, next Saturday night during Skynet, because if the weather's good, that's what's going to be happening next Saturday night. Slide Masters, slide number 15. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information, or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question, because if I can't answer it, maybe someone else here can. Okay, so as the moon waned at the end of July, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for a world that's the only one where humans live. And until just a few minutes from now, when I'll be doing more Skynet, keep looking up so you know what's up. Now, the next segment of Skynet is space exploration and space history, but before we do that, let me see if we've got any more check-ins for Skynet. Come now with your call sign phonetically, and your name, and your location. And Catherine, I've got you already checked in. I see you over there on Echolink. So, KB8DAA, Catherine, I've got you checked in, but anybody else that needs a check-in to Echolink, please come now. Check in either Echolink or radio frequency. Come now with your name, your call sign, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, hearing none, I guess what we're going to call this is the space exploration and space history. Kelly, I think you are the one that's up for this. K5KTX, the net is all yours.
Chaz, this is K5KTX. Good evening again, everyone on the net. So NASA has finished the system requirements review for its Mars sample return program, which is nearing completion of the conceptual design phase. During this phase, the program team evaluated and refined the architecture to return the scientifically selected samples, which are currently in the collection process by NASA's Perseverance rover on the red planet Jezero crater. The architecture for the campaign, which includes contributions from the European Space Agency, ESA, is expected to reduce the complexity of future missions and increase probability of success. This advanced mission architecture takes into consideration a recently updated analysis of Perseverance's expected longevity. Perseverance will be the primary means of transporting samples to NASA's sample retrieval lander carrying the Mars Ascent vehicle and ESA's sample transfer arm. The Mars Sample Return Campaign will no longer include the Sample Fetch rover or its associated second lander. The Sample Retrieval Lander will include 2 sample recovery helicopters based on the design of the Ingenuity helicopter, which has performed 29 flights at Mars and survived over a year beyond its original planned lifetime. The helicopters will provide a secondary capability to retrieve samples cached on the surface of Mars. The ESA Earth Return Orbiter and its NASA-provided capture, containment, and return system remain vital elements of the program architecture. With planned launch dates for the Earth Return Orbiter and Sample Retrieval Lander in fall of 2027 and summer of 2028, respectively, the samples are expected to arrive back on Earth in 2033. The architecture solidified during this conceptual design phase. The program is expected to move into its preliminary design phase this October. In this phase, expected to last about 12 months, the program will complete technology development and create engineering prototypes of the major mission components. This refined concept for the Mars Sample Return Campaign was presented to the delegates from the 22 participating states of Europe's Space Exploration Program, Terra Nova, in May. At their next meeting in September, the states will consider the discontinuation of the development of the Sample Fetch rover. The respective contributions to the campaign are contingent upon available funding from the U.S. and ESA participating states. More formalized agreements between the two agencies will be established in the next year. First step in the Mars Sample Return Campaign is already in progress. Since it landed at Jezero Crater February the 18th, 2021, the Perseverance rover has collected 11 scientifically compelling rock core samples and 1 atmospheric sample. Bringing Mars samples to Earth would allow scientists across the world to examine the specimens using sophisticated instruments too large and too complex to send to Mars and would enable future generations to study them. Curating the samples on Earth would also allow the science community to test new theories and models as they are developed, much as the Apollo samples returned from the Moon have done for decades. They already have set up a mission website at mars.nasa.gov/MSR, as in Mary Sam Rover. So lots of exciting things to look forward to for that mission. In space history this past week, beginning on July 24th, 1969, the Apollo 11 command module Columbia splashed down in the mid-Pacific. All primary mission objectives and test objectives of the first human trip to the Moon were met. The crew, Commander Neil Armstrong, Command Module Pilot Michael Collins, and Lunar Module Pilot Buzz Aldrin returned in optimal health. All 19,000 hours of audio recordings from that mission are available to download and listen to at nasa.gov/new Apollo audio, which is all one word. This past week, I've read a few Facebook posts from some space hipsters who listened to that mission audio in real time last week during the Apollo 11 anniversary. And I think that would be kind of fun to do sometime. July the 26th, 1971, Apollo 15 launched with its crew, Dave Scott, Al Worden, and Jim Irwin, settling in Earth orbit in about 12 minutes. Less than 3 hours after launch, they fired up the engines again and headed toward the Moon. 3 days later, they arrived at the Moon and put themselves in orbit. While Worden, Command Module Pilot, stayed on orbit, Scott and Irwin landed on the Moon's Hadley-Appomattox site 51 years ago today. They spent 66 hours and 55 minutes on the lunar surface from touchdown to liftoff. 18 of those hours were spent outside the lunar module exploring on foot and in the battery-powered lunar roving vehicle, the first car humans drove on the Moon. They drove 17.5 miles, collected more than 170 pounds of lunar samples. With a mission duration of 12 days, Apollo 15 was a record-setting mission at the time. It was the first of J-series missions with a lunar module that could carry more equipment and consumables, improved spacesuits, more scientific equipment, and, of course, that lunar roving vehicle.
Kelly, this is KF5JHA. May I make a comment right here?
Chaz?
Just wanted to let all of you know that Apollo 15 not only brought back 170 pounds of lunar samples, but there's one piece of one of the samples that's on display at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. It's near the Apollo 7 command module, right on the exhibit floor. So go take a look at it. If you've not seen a real piece of a real moon rock, there's one there on display. Okay, back to you, Kelly. Thanks.
Chaz, for that reminder. I had forgotten about that. That is a really neat thing to see. The Apollo 7 is pretty cool to see as well. All right, on July 29th, 1878, a total eclipse of the sun was observed from Fort Worth by a party directed by Leonard Waldo, then at Harvard College Observatory. Many observers were recruited both locally and from out-of-state academic institutions. The program included drawings and photography of the solar corona, measurements of polarization, and spectroscopic observations of the changing light from the solar chromosphere. From the latter, W.H. Pulsifer of Washington University in St. Louis deduced a height of the chromosphere of at least 524 miles. David Todd of the Naval Observatory observed from Dallas and produced sketches of the solar corona. And, of course, we're going to have another eclipse on April the 8th, 2024, so put that in your calendar. And also on July the 29th, back in 1958, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautics and Space Act, which established the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA. The national commitment to a broad program of space exploration, including manned spaceflight, came in response to the Soviet Union's successful space launches begun in 1957. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy set as a national goal the achievement of a manned landing on the moon by the end of the decade. NASA began to reorganize and increase its space establishments. Central to the agency's new future was the construction of a manned space development aggregation, including facilities in Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi. NASA also elected to build a new space management crew training and flight control center on Clear Lake in southeastern Harris County, Texas, thanks to the efforts of Texas Congressman Albert Thomas. And finally, tonight we have several astronauts who are celebrating birthdays this past week. July 25th, we have a couple from 1932, Paul Weiss, who was part of the Skylab 2 mission and also Space Shuttle mission STS-6. July 25th, 1957, Daniel Bursch, who was on several Space Shuttle missions, STS-51, 68, 77, and then also Expedition 4. July 26, 1949, William Shepard was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-27, 41, 52, and he was on the very first expedition to the space station, Expedition 1. July 26, 1951, William MacArthur, Space Shuttle missions STS-58, 74, 92, and then again on Expedition 12. July 27, 1961, Daniel Burbank, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-106, 115, and part of Expeditions 29 and 30. July 28, 1961, Scott Parazynski, Space Shuttle missions STS-66, 86, 95, 100, and 120. Also on July the 28th, 1970, Robert Behnken, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-123 and STS-1. And, of course, he was on the SpaceX DM-2 mission on Expedition 63. And finally, today, celebrating a birthday, July 30th, 1954, Gregory Johnson, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-123 and the second to the last Space Shuttle mission, STS-134. And with that, I'll send it back to you, Chaz. This is K5KTX.
Thank you, Kelly. And for those of you that are interested on MeTV, Batman and Robin are trying to do something with the problem with the Riddler. Okay. So, Miss Caroline's Constellation of the Week is the next one. That's number 7 on our list of items for tonight's Skynet. So, Slide Master, can you put up slide number 17, please? Miss Caroline's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning until from 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named the segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Sagittarius, the Centaur. Sagittarius is a mythological creature that is half human and half horse. And Sagittarius is an archer, so it's an archer centaur. Most people see Sagittarius as a teapot. And the amazing thing is that it is a hot teapot. You can actually see the steam coming out of the spout of the teapot, spanning the entire sky. The steam is actually the Milky Way. All right, Slide Master, slide number 18. What all of you have been waiting for all night long, the jokes of the week. Did you hear about the man who was hospitalized with 6 plastic horses inside of him? The doctor described his condition as stable. Oh, come on, that was funny. What did the horse say when it fell? I've fallen and I can't get up. That's a commercial from a long time ago, isn't it? How do you know a horse is sick? Because he's a pony. You know, a little horse. I know you love these things, don't you? How do you make a small fortune on horse racing? You start with a large fortune. Yeah, there you go. JJ got it right over there on Echoing. What side of the horse has the most hair? The outside, of course. A horse walks into a bar and the bartender says, "Hey!" And the horse says, "Buddy, you read my mind." Get it? He's going to eat the hay. Okay. Slide Master, slide number 19. Usually you like to talk about a few stars in the constellation of the week, but not this week. Sagittarius happens to be in the direction of the center of our Milky Way galaxy, and at the center of the Milky Way is a black hole with a mass that's more than 1 million suns. The constellation of Sagittarius is full of globular clusters, open clusters, nebulas, and much more. So I'll only talk about one double star, Nunki. Nunki is located in the handle of the teapot. The primary star is about 227 light years away from us and shines at the second magnitude. It's one of the stars we look at with the students at Brookhaven campus. The spectroscopic secondary star is a binary star that is too close for us to see visually. There's a close by 9th magnitude star that is used for astronomy students to observe as the visual binary. Slide master, slide number 8, please. M8, that would be the number 8th object on Messier's list of objects. M8 is a famous lagoon nebula. It's easily visible to the naked eye from dark sky sites. M8 is obviously a nebula, and even the smallest instruments, binoculars, finder scopes, and even small aperture telescopes. The associated cluster NGC 6530 is easily seen in a small telescope as well. The nebulosity appears weakest around the cluster. Slide master, slide number 21, please. M20 is the Trifid Nebula. Now, what makes this so famous is it's one of the pictures used on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise on the original Star Trek TV show. Second time I've talked about Star Trek tonight. Well, it's going to be on MeTV here soon anyway. Can you see the nebulosity, both the brighter and red emission nebula and the fainter blue reflection nebula? It's hard to see the dark lanes that are streaking across the emission nebula through moderate telescopes. With averted vision, you can just barely see some of the dark lanes. David Hutchinson so aptly points out in the TASS Spectrum article that M20 contains all 3 types of nebula: emission, reflection, and dark nebula. Slide number 22, please. M17 is the Swan or the Omega Nebula. This nebula's swan appearance is easy to make out. As one happy and thrilled observer on the upper observing field at the recent Texas Star Party, shouted out for all to hear, "It really does look like a swan!" Okay, the brightest part of the nebula makes a shape much like the check mark. The name Omega Nebula comes from the curved portion of the nebula that forms the swan's neck and head. Some observers have likened it to the curved shape of the Greek letter Omega. Slide number 23 is M22. M22 is a beautiful globular cluster. This is what the globular cluster is supposed to look like. It resolves into dozens of stars even at a 41 power magnification. The lowest power that you can use with a Dynamax 8 telescope that I like to observe with. A high-powered view is a real visual treat, with the core almost totally resolved and many bright individual stars visible. M22 is one of the showpiece globular clusters, along with M13, M5, 47 Toucan, the Toucan, and Omega Centaur. Omega Centaur is the one to look at. There are so many globular clusters that I could talk about. M54, M70, M69, M28, M55, M75, and many more, but I'm afraid that would take up another 20 minutes of Skynet, and that would put us at the end. So let me move on to just one more object, a planetary nebula. Slide master, slide number 24. NGC 6818, or the Little Gem Nebula, is a nice planetary nebula. Unlike many planetaries would look star-like at low power, this little gem is fairly obvious. At high power, it's a round and gray, with a hint of some faint outer wisp. It is large enough and bright enough that it has earned a place in the Astronomical League Observing Urban Club, which means you can see it from inside the city with a telescope. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 25. There are many more Astronomical League Observing Program objects in the constellation of Sagittarius the Centaur. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 70 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. So, if you just observe 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year from the Astronomical League. Slide master, slide number 26, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Sagittarius the Centaur. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Next time, I'll take a look at Lyra, the HARP. It's getting close to being overhead. All right, our next segment, number 8 on our list of Skynet topics, is space launches for the week. Tom, KE5ICX, it's all yours for a few minutes. Let me give my voice a rest.
All right. Thank you, Chaz. And this is KE5ICX. Yeah, so take a rest. 2 in a row, and your net control. You did what they call the hat trick. Okay. So what do we have? We have space launches for this week. I get all the information for my stuff from Spaceflight Now. Launch schedule at spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. So we have a Falcon 9 launch from SLC-40, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Falcon 9 rocket launched the Korea Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter, or KPLO. This is South Korea's first space exploration mission. KPL spacecraft carries science instruments to image permanently shadowed craters to search for signs of water ice, measure the composition of the lunar regolith, and to search for signs of and capture high-resolution images to map future landing sites. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. On August 4th, there'll be a launch from SLC-41 Cape Canaveral. A United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket designated AV-97 will launch the U.S. Space Force 6 Space-Based Infrared System Geosynchronous Satellite, or SPIRS GEO-6, for mission early warning detection. The rocket will fly in the 421 vehicle configuration with a 4-meter fairing, 2 solid rocket boosters, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. In early August, the Falcon 9 launch from Vandenberg, SLC-4E, will launch with another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. August 9th, Starlink 4-26, this time from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Next is the Astra 3.3 from SLC-46 at Cape Canaveral. A commercial small satellite launch vehicle developed by Astra will launch a second pair of CubeSats for NASA's Tropics mission. The time-resolved observation of precipitation, structure, and storm intensity with a constellation of small sats called Tropics. The mission will measure environmental and inner core conditions for tropical cyclones. Then we have the same thing again, this time Tropics 5 and 6, whatever I just said, to be determined, will happen sometime in the near future. This summer will be the SSLV demonstration launch. This is from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India. The SSLV will launch on its first orbital test flight, consisting of 3 solid fuel stages with a liquid-fueled upper stage. The SSLV is a new Indian launch vehicle designed to carry small satellites into Earth orbit. To be determined, the orbital test flight of the SpaceX Super Heavy and Starship launch vehicle will launch on its first orbital test flight. The mission will attempt to travel around the world for nearly 1 full orbit, resulting in re-entry and splashdown of the Starship near Hawaii. That will be launched from Starbase at Boca Chica Beach here in Texas. Then in mid-August, we have the Falcon 9 Starlink 4-27 from SLC-40, another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. Everybody together, the Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Let's see. Oh, we got time. Next up is the Space Launch System Artemis 1 from Launch Complex 39D at Kennedy Space Center. The NASA's Space Launch System Heavy Lift rocket will launch for its first test flight with an uncrewed Orion spacecraft. The mission, known as Artemis 1, will place the Orion spacecraft into orbit around the moon before the capsule returns to Earth for splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. 2 small CubeSat rideshare payloads will also launch on the Artemis 1 mission. August, there will be also a launch of the Delta IV Heavy from SLC-6 at Vandenberg. The United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy will launch a classified payload for the National Reconnaissance Office. And then finally, August-September will be a multi-payload launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California on SLC-2W. A Firefly Alpha rocket will launch on its second test flight with a rideshare payload consisting of multiple unspecified small satellites. And that's it. That's probably enough. Back to net control. This is KE5ICS.
Thank you, Tom. Kelly is rooting for Artemis to be postponed until September the 2nd. That's its next window for launch because that's her birthday. And she's going to be in Florida for her niece's birthday at that time, too. I think it's her niece's birthday, but anyway. So, let's see now. Do we have any more check-ins for Skynet? Come now with your call sign phonetically and slowly, and your name and your location if you'd like to check in to tonight's Skynet. We're only up to 23 people. We need a lot more to get to our 42.
More check-ins. K5JDW, John in Coppell.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Thank you, John. You're in your Texas home right now, and Sean in Fort Worth, we welcome you into Skynet. Now we're up to 25 people. Okay. Next on our list of top, 12 different topics in Skynet. Number 9 is recent astronomical discoveries. We're going to go to Brenda, WB5OZL. It's all yours.
This is WB5OZL. The title of this article is Scientists Discover Places on the Moon Where It's Always Sweater Weather. A team of led by planetary scientists at UCLA has discovered shady locations within pits on the moon that always hover around a comfortable 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Pits and caves to which they lead would make safer, more thermally stable base camps for lunar exploration and long-term habitation than the rest of the moon's surface, which heats up to 260 degrees during the day and drops to 280 degrees below at night. Below zero at night. Pits were first discovered on the moon in 2009, and since then, scientists have wondered if they led to caves that could be explored or used as shelters. About 16 of the more than 200 pits are probably collapsed lava tubes, said Tyler Horvath, a UCLA doctoral student in planetary science who led the new research. 2 of the most prominent pits have visible overhangs that lead to some sort of cave or void, and there's strong evidence that another's overhang may also lead to a large cave. Lava tubes, also found on Earth, form when molten lava flows beneath a field of cooled lava, or a crust forms over a river of lava, leaving a long, hollow tunnel. If the ceiling of a solidified lava tube collapses, it opens a pit that can lead into the rest of the cave-like tube. Horvath processed images from the Diviner Lunar Radiometer experiment, a thermal camera, and one of 6 instruments on NASA's robotic Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter to find out if the temperature within the pits diverged from those on the surface. focusing on a roughly cylindrical 100-meter-deep depression about the length and width of a football field in an area of the moon known as Mare Tranquillitatis. Horvath and his colleagues used computer modeling to analyze the thermal properties of the rock and lunar dust and to chart the pit's temperatures over a period of time. The results, recently published in the journal Geophysical Research Letters, revealed that the temperatures within the permanently shadowed reaches of the pit fluctuate only slightly throughout the lunar day, remaining at around 63 degrees. If a cave extends from the bottom of the pit, as images taken by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter camera suggest, it too would have this relatively comfortable temperature. The research team, which also included UCLA professor of planetary science from radiating away at night. Meanwhile, the sun-baked part of the pit floor hits daytime temperatures of close to 300 degrees. Earth days. Inventing heating and cooling equipment that can operate under these conditions an insurmountable barrier to lunar exploration. Solar power, the most common form of power generation, doesn't work at night after all. NASA currently has no plans to establish an exploration base camp or habitations on the moon. Building bases in the shadowed parts of these pits allow scientists to focus on other challenges like growing food, providing oxygen for astronauts, gathering resources for experiments, and expanding the base. The pits or caves would also offer some protection from cosmic rays, solar radiation, and micrometeorites. Humans evolved living in caves, and to caves we might return when we live on the moon, said Page, who leads the Diviner Lunar Radiometer experiment. Diviner has been mapping the moon continuously since 2009, producing NASA's second largest planetary data set and providing the most detailed and comprehensive thermal measurements of any object in our solar system, including Earth. The team's current work on lunar pits has improved data from the Diviner experiment. Because no one else had looked at things this small with Diviner, we found that it had a bit of double vision, causing all of our maps to be a bit blurry, said Horvath. The team worked to align the many images taken by the instrument until they could achieve an accurate thermal reading down to the level of single pixel. This process yielded much higher resolution maps of the moon's surface. Data from the early stages of this lunar pit thermal modeling project were used to help develop the thermal management system of the rover for NASA's proposed moon diver mission. Horvath and Hain were part of the science team for this mission, which aims to have the rover rappel into the Tranquillitatis pit to research the layers of lava flows seen in the walls and explore any existing cave. Horvath and Page are science team members for a new lunar-bound thermal camera led by Paul Hain, named in late 2023 to get the first ground-based thermal images. Okay, that's from ScienceDaily.com. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Thank you, Brenda. We got about 80% of that. You sort of, as Bill said, it looks like you had your dilithium crystals was running out. But then you came back, and then you faded out a couple of times near the end. But you might want to check. I'm not sure if it's an antenna connection or something, but it acted like you had no power or something for a little while. Okay. So let's see now. Number 10 on our list. Thank you, Brenda. So number 10 on our list, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. Tom, I think I'm going to give that to you, KE5ICX. We have a few minutes, so can you cover that? This is KF5, JHA, Net Control.
Oh, absolutely, Chaz. The International Space Station has a couple of good passes this week. First one is July 31st. That's tomorrow. There's actually two passes, but the better one is at 22:30. That's at 10:30 tomorrow night. Minus 2.8 magnitude. Out of the northwest, it'll reach its highest point at 45 degrees at 22:32, and it'll fall to the west-northwest at 22:32, so it goes into shadow. The next one is August 4th. That is 3.8, very brilliant, at 20:52 or 8:52 in the evening out of the northwest. It'll reach its highest point at 20:55 at 72, and it'll fall to the southeast at 20:59. Next up is the X-37B. That's the Space Force secret winged spacecraft, kind of a mini space shuttle. It is unmanned. It has one good pass August 2nd, 0.4 magnitude at 5:49 a.m. It's out of the west-southwest at 18 degrees. It reaches its highest point at 68 degrees at 5:51, and it will fall to the northeast at 5:54. Next up is Old Reliable. That does not have a lot of passes, but it always has more passes than any other. Let's see, the first one we got is July 31st. That will be 3.8 magnitude at 32 out of the north-northeast. That's 23 degrees at 37, or falls south at 5:42. Next up is August 2nd. That's a 3.0 magnitude, 5:7. Out of the north, it'll reach its highest point at 6:02 at 84 degrees, or almost directly overhead. 6:07, it disappears to the south-southwest. Next is August 5th. August 5th has a 3.2 magnitude at 5:45 in the morning. Out of the north-northeast, it reaches its highest point at 5:50 at 75 degrees, falls to the east-southeast at 5:55. And then finally, the one I'll give you is August 7th, 3.1 magnitude. This one's at 6:10 a.m. It'll be out of the north. It'll reach its highest point at 59 degrees at 6:15, and it'll fall to the south-southwest at 6:20. So there you have it. That is everything when it comes to satellite paths. You can get all this information from heavensabove.com. That's heavens with a dash followed by above.com. When you go there, you can create an account, and it will always remember you if you want that. And each time you log in with a username and password, it will put in your Kepler, put in your longitude and latitude, all active satellites, and it's free. If you don't like that, you don't want to sign up for something like that, you can also put in your location. You just point and click that information in, show you how, and then if you have your cookies enabled, then it will go each and every time you visit the website. It's very helpful, does not require any special software, you just use the, and it does the rest. Back to you, as KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. You're also having some problems hitting the repeater consistently. We got about 95% of it, but you blinked out on and off. But there's been some challenges you've had over the last couple of weeks anyway. But thank you, Tom. Okay, let's see now. We're going to try to go ahead and get some more check-ins. This will be the final round of check-ins. If you want to check in and get credit for tonight's Skynet, please come now with your call signs phonetically, slowly, your name, and your location. Well, I was hoping for more. We have 25 hams participating in this session of Skynet. Thank you for all that checked in this evening. I hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night, and next week we'll have a much better net control, I'm sure, at 9 p.m. every Saturday night to discuss astronomy, space explorations, and, those kind of things. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for new net control stations for this and all DARC nets. Hey, if I can do this, you can too. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of our net controls by sending them an email at nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics, discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video feeds, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net, which is going to happen in a matter of seconds. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5JHA Jazz. And I'll be closing the net at 10:28:03 local time and returning it to the repeater to normal amateur use. Good night, everyone. 73. Enjoy discovering the universe.
We will be back for the Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is Perseid from
Normal State
14. So if you'd like to join us, you don't have to necessarily have seen the film, but come on by. We'll be back in about 12 minutes. 12 minutes or 10:30. See you then. KE 5I6.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal. KI5JC.
Hal has been banned from the repeater. Inside BB. If Hal shows up, we then go into movie mode. Inside BB.
to use the repeater before we begin the Afterglow movie net. This is WB50ZL. Okay, let's get started. Tonight's movie is called The Device, and to call on Tom, KE5ICX, to give us the synopsis of this fine film.
Thank you, Brenda. I boosted power a little bit. It sounds like it may be coming from the repeater site. I'm not entirely sure, so everybody may want to increase power a little bit this evening above normal. I noticed Chaz had it, but not as bad as some of us. At any rate, here's the review. This was written and directed by Jeremy Berg and starring Angela DeMarco, David Hogan, and Kate Alden. The Device tells the story of two estranged sisters who, after the death of their mother, reunite to take her ashes and scatter them to a lake in the woods near the family cabin. A cabin they've been warned to stay away from for unknown reasons. As they try to reconnect and deal with their past, Rebecca runs off into the woods and discovers what appears to be the remains of a strange wreckage. As her sister, Abby, catches up to her, they discover a mysterious black orb. Collecting the orb, they take it back to the cabin and show it to Abby's fiancé, Calvin, who is immediately sees dollar signs. Soon Abby starts having nightmares, and Rebecca seems to want to leave the cabin immediately. They pack up and go home. Abby receives a phone call from Aunt Linda, irate that they went to the cabin and demanded that she send Rebecca home. Unbeknownst to Abby or Rebecca, Calvin has brought the black orb back from the cabin and is keeping it in the basement, trying to unlock the mystery of its strange powers. Once the girls realize this, they beg Calvin to get rid of it, but he's determined to find a way of making money off of it. Abby's nightmares continue and get more lucid and vivid as she believes that there is an alien presence near, and it seems tied to the orb. What the sisters do not realize is this orb is an actual device not made by any human hands, and its purpose is that of horrible design. As the sisters begin to unfurl and past drama brought to light, they realize they must fight not only against the mysterious force of the device, but also against those they never thought would go against them. All right, that's the description of the movie, The Device. Back to you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. All right, we're going to take check-ins, and what we usually do is we'll have 3 rounds. First, we'll go down the list, and we'll talk about the plot, and then characterization, and then special effects or whatever else you want to talk about, the costumes, the music, historical accuracy, plausibility, or just anything you want to discuss about the movie. When you check in, tell us whether you have seen the movie. You don't have to have seen it to discuss it. You've probably seen enough science fiction movies that you can discuss science fiction movies intelligently and put in your 2 cents worth. All right, I will now take low power and short time check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, name, and whether or not you saw the movie.
KF5, India Charlie X-ray. Tom, Louisville. Yes, I saw the movie.
Okay, we got KE5ICX, Tom, who saw the movie. Let's take general check-ins now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill and Irving. Yes, I saw the movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony and Dallas. I saw part of the movie.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jane Weber. I did dip. Correction, I did dip.
Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman on Echolink. I'm watching the film right now. I've got about 15 minutes to go until it's over. KF5 TDS.
All right, let's pick this up. November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill, who saw the movie. NT5TM, Tony, who did see part of it. KG5BZWJ, who saw it. And KF5PDS, Billy, who is watching it now. All right, do we have any more check-ins?
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf Cruise in Arlington. I listened to the film. I was driving.
AKF5KWG, Chris, who listened to the film while he was driving. That's interesting. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get... okay, I have a correction. His name was Cruz, not Chris. I beg your pardon. Okay. First, we have the plot. KE5ICX. You are lucky enough to get the first shot at it. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Yep, I saw it. By the way, anybody who's interested, we have the Afterglow gang on Fridays at 8 o'clock. We sit and watch the movie separately but together and chat about it as we go. And that's on Facebook, by the way. Afterglow. Now I forgot. Oh, well, anyway. Afterglow gang, that's what it is. This is a common trope. We've heard this a million times before, science fiction. We have the alien spacecraft that crashes and leaves a mysterious device. This has been done a bazillion million times before, both in television. X-Files done it. I think Star Trek's done it to a certain extent, or in one of its 700 different episodes that are out there. That part is always is common trope. The second thing, they combined it with a horror story, which is the fact that it's in a cabin up in the middle of nowhere, at least in the first part. And then the second part, of course, is the guy going crazy, much like in The Shining, and becoming obsessive. We've seen that sort of thing before. Now, what was, to me, excruciatingly boring is waiting for these people to explain their backstory. and they would do one, and talking about the family and kind of the dysfunctional parts of the family, the mother and the disjointedness and all of that, and how they are finally back together and discussing things ad nauseum. The only thing that I could see myself doing is figuring out how much wine they've been drinking and hope that they would fall unconscious at some point, and then we could just kind of have silence and nothing happened. It took quite a while before the story got going. After it did, with the possession of, what was his name, Calvin, I think it was, it started getting interesting, although somewhat contrived. I like some of the ideas they had when you're trying to discombobulate what's happening. The device itself is kind of fun, and how it operates, and the fact that it phones home and comes back all the time is sort of interesting, and also the things of horror stories and science fiction. The dialogue again. Oh, they had the crazy scientist guy. That made no sense to me. Why do we always have the crazy scientist guys? Aren't there normal scientists? I don't know. But I will say this: there was a doctor in it with his white lab coat. You know how much I love doctors, but I was looking for the hands in the pockets, which is always what TV actors do or actors do when they play doctors. They put their hands in the big stethoscope pockets. That did not happen, although he was on only a very, very short time. The crazy UFOist, that's another kind of stereotype. He got out of here, you know, it's terrible and all of that. That was bad. I think the biggest problem I had with it was the ending. I figured it out after the fact. We're going to take over the Earth through procreation. And that was pretty much a very weak way of handling it. I suppose there could have been a sequel, but they would have to spend some money on it. I think the $500 they spent on this film was fairly well spent. So that's my comments on the first round. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, N5BB, Bill, what do you think about the plot?
Thank you, Brenda. This is N5BB. Well, I agree with a lot of what Tom said, but I think that $500 they spent was poorly spent on writing, and maybe on acting. This is very clearly, to me, they piled in various kind of science fiction, well, not really science fiction, more like science fantasy tropes and horror tropes. They just dumped them all together and stirred them up and said, okay, we're just going to add this and add this. This is Nightmare on Elm Street meets Rosemary's Baby meets Aliens with 3 fingers that are going to probe your body and insert things into it. And it was incredibly predictable. I mean, the moment I found out that the girl the young woman had an abortion after that original event, the rest of the movie was super clear. And then the moment you saw them with the cut on the hand after they handled the ball, of course, they had to be inserting something into the body, of course. And then the dreams of somebody, probing her abdomen. I tell you, the nosebleed that Calvin had, oh, come on. And the noises in his head, and the whining noise that nobody seems to talk about, the dysfunctional, we see this in so many other bad movies, especially the bad horror movies. In this bad science fiction movie, everybody, lies. They don't tell the truth. They don't describe what happened. They try to hide all these things. and of course it becomes a train wreck. So what bothered me was a lack of interesting writing. It's just tropes on tropes. Like I say, Rosemary's Baby meets Aliens and Nightmare on Elm Street in 5EB.
Thank you, Bill. Let's see. NT5TM, Tony, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Tom. I appreciate your being here and staying up to be net control. And Tom and Bill, I really liked your comments. This movie, I guess, needed more wine. I couldn't make it through this. I got kind of bored and frustrated with it fairly quickly, and a big part of that was because of what Bill talked about, the tropes. The writing just seemed so cliched, and I'll beat up on the actors, I guess, in the next round. But just these very stereotypical lines that were, we shouldn't be here. I started keeping notes, and then I got so bored keeping notes that I stopped. But they just seemed so predictable, and the dialogue was so composed of things cribbed from other movies that it was. I wanted more wine myself, but I wasn't drinking. I was busy doing something else. I also, of the part I saw, which was probably about the first third of the movie, I disliked both plot holes and odd and unnatural behavior. If I were hiking through the woods, and oh yeah, it was a cliched line, we shouldn't be here, and I found what looked like a plane crash, there's a lot of people I might call. If I remember my CERT training, I might call the FAA Flight Standards District Office, the FSDO. If I were just, didn't know where I was and who to call, I might call 911 or the police, the sheriff, the coroner, somebody. I don't start picking through the crime scene myself. That's just not my job. Likewise, if somebody randomly loses consciousness for hours, that's actually a medical emergency. I wouldn't put them to bed on their own, alone, on their back. They could aspirate vomit. No. You put them in the recovery position and you get medical help. Not okay to just touch an alien artifact and lose consciousness. You need to consult a professional alienologist when that happens. So they seem to be acting oddly and woodenly and unnaturally, and the writing seemed to be just full of cliches, and I got really bored. I couldn't even make myself try to finish it during Skynet because, everybody works hard on Skynet and tries their best. Skynet is interesting, and I liked it, unlike this movie. NT5TM.
Tony. Okay, KG5BZWJ, go ahead.
BZW Echo Link. Yeah, the writing was quite transparent in, well, the character is stupid. Like every single fault that you could introduce to a character to make them not do what they really ought to do, they just threw them at these characters shotgun style. I only skimmed some of the comments on the YouTube section under, I'm assuming it's, anyway. How it seems to be decent acting or whatnot, but the material itself was just not. I don't know how much I can really add compared to what's already been said. I think I'm seeing a actioned horse that's been thoroughly killed by lightning and all kinds of other things by the comments of the others. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you, my BZW.
Billy, KF5PDS. Are you ready to talk, or you still need to watch the rest of the movie?
Good evening. No, I'm ready. I've got about 5 more minutes left. I've had to go through quite a bit of ads, so I'm down to like the last 5 minutes or so. I just paused it. 3 words: bland, boring, and predictable. It is so slow. I mean, they got halfway through the film before they even addressed the predictable issue, which I'd pretty much already figured out from what they had said before. Sister disappeared, came back, pregnant, abortion. You know, we already figured it out. It's just waiting for them to get to it and get through it. So I'm in the last 5 minutes. I was thinking, well, maybe slow start and then bang up of a finish, but now I'm at the last 5 minutes and I still feel the same way that I did through the first part of it, was like, get on with it. It's only an hour and a half, but, you know, an hour and a half can be good quality if it's well written, but this is just a hodgepodge of stuff put together. I think probably other people have probably already said it's pretty cliched and contrived. So, yeah, it's just one of these slow, bland films with high production value, but no production substance. So with that, I'm going to finish watching it, and then I'll come around for the characterization round. So I'll throw it back to you. This is KF5PDS, back to net.
Okay, KF5KWG, Cruise. Do you have some comments on the plot?
KI5KWG. Yes, having seen, as you mentioned, Brenda, having seen sci-fi films before, I kind of had an idea of what was going to be happening, and I was busy, and I said, I'll just listen to the dialogue while I drive, and I bet you I can put it together. And I think for the most part I was right on that. I sometimes make fun of happy endings as being too contrived, but in this case I was pleasantly surprised. And let me back up then. During the character development, when the guy in his dialogue said something to the effect that he was a real estate agent. He was new at it, but he got into it because I figured I had what it takes. It was at that point that the plot became for me as I wanted the real estate agent guy to die. And at the end of the movie, I think that's exactly what we got. Again, I didn't see it, but he certainly sounded like he was in a lot of pain and was never heard or seen again. So there was a happy ending. And I suppose I could go into some more of the dialogue when we get to the characterizations. But from just listening to the film, I have to agree with what everybody said. This was a stinker. This is KI5KWG. Back to you, Ned.
Yes, he did die, and we loved it. Are there any more check-ins? This is WB50ZL with my 2 cents worth. It's like every other cheesy horror movie. The teenagers at the camp at the lake going, I hear a noise outside. Let's go outside and see what it is so we can get hacked to pieces. And these people did a lot of that. They kept poking the bear, you know. It's like, I know this is dangerous, but I'm going to go there anyway. I don't understand, with the horrific thing that happened at this location, why anybody would ever go back there, especially, do you suppose their mother wanted to have her ashes dumped there? I can't imagine that she would want that, given all the negativity in the whole experience. I agree that if you run across a plane crash, probably the appropriate thing to do is call anybody, local police station, sheriff, FAA, anybody that deals with emergencies. But no, they just left it there. And I would think if a plane crash might have some body parts associated with it, you might care about that. And so they dig up this billiard ball. It's black, and because it was undestroyed, it says, what's indestructible? A black box. Well, black boxes are not black. They are orange, and a lot bigger than that thing, and they have a lot of gizmos sticking out of them that, they're electronic, and wires and batteries and things that are required for this, and none of them look like a cue ball at all. And so the idea, we're going to figure this out. Sure you are, doofus. You're not going to figure out anything. You're just going to stare at it and think you're going to get rich because you've got this oddity. Obviously that didn't work out for him. So much drama. Just bigger. And I'm not a big fan of that. For a long time they didn't tell you what the conflict was all about. It's like, you think sibling rivalry, so what? And it got to the point where you just didn't care anymore. It's like, will somebody please die and put us out of our misery? But they kept it going, the bickering, and finally they told you what had happened, and that was a little interesting, the background story, but it didn't really save the movie. Okay, let's move on. Next, characterization. Tom, KE5ICX. Go ahead.
What characterization? They were all stereotypical characters, including the Here's Johnny character. I don't know. It was very slow-moving, and they were very boring. And actually, I stopped listening after a while. I just kind of sat there and went, this sounds like, at least at the very beginning, like, a family affair, something that you might be stuck with during, I don't know, somebody dies, and then you go to the funeral, and then afterwards you sit around in the house and discuss that person. Only in this case, we don't talk about the dead person, we talk about each other. And I guess we do talk about, well, come to think of it, there is a dead person, the urn. I was just thinking, what they could do is, they're so boring, they're sitting there drinking their wine. Maybe they could take the urn and they dump all the stuff out and they could make something out of it. I don't know, Raspberry Pi container or something, anything. I was doing anything to come up with something entertaining or funny or somehow a diversion while watching these characters go on and on and on and on. We gotta go. No, we can't go. Well, come with us back to the house. Go away. Go back to where you came from, because that stupid 8-ball thing that they carry around with them is going to be there. So it makes no sense. The one thing that drives me nuts with characters like this is like, don't go in the basement, so they go in the basement. Another thing is, don't call the cops because we want to make money off this thing. Really? Why don't you, after things start looking bad, the two sisters knew there was something up. Call the cops. And of course, they threatened, and by the time it was too late, he was being, very threatening about the whole thing. But before this, they had plenty of opportunity. They knew there was something wrong with him. Is he to act like this all the time and be obsessive about it? They should have figured out. By the way, what the heck was it that they cut on the palm? And nobody seemed to think that was particularly unusual. This smooth object cut them. Folks, come on. You've got to put 2 and 2 together and get at least 5 and not 0. Stupid people. Stupid. That's from Plan 9 from Outer Space, and they nailed this movie. So I don't know what else to say about it. I did like the UFOist guy. He was kind of fun. He was just crazy enough to, just crazy and could be, and he did everything you'd expect and threw her out. So I was okay with that. He was kind of fun, but he wasn't in the movie long enough. So there you have it. I don't know what else to say about these characters. They should have had more interesting characters. I'm thinking they should have brought in the Professor and Mary Ann. That would have been more fun. They go up to the cabin. These things happen. There could be some funny lines. Gilligan could find it, and he tries to get rid of it, and he keeps coming back, and he keeps trying to get rid of it, and he keeps coming back, and then the skipper's got to figure out a way to get rid of it. So then they all spend time trying to figure out how to get rid of the orb. I think that would have been a much better story. K35ICS.
Well, it was hard to get rid of. They threw it in the lake, and it came out, and then it crawled down under the bed. They never quite showed that part, because how it traveled without its little legs. And so I don't know why he had to carry it back home. It could have followed them, or it could have been there waiting when they got there. I don't know. Okay, N5BB. Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, are we on characterization now? N5BB, question.
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
Okay. I wasn't clear about that. Okay, this is N5BB. Characterization. They're all fools. And I guess maybe acting. I thought the guy, the boyfriend, was really pretty bad. I was not convinced that he was taken over by the alien, which I guess is what they were trying to show. But I thought he did a very bad job doing that. It just looked too artificial and weird. And the two young ladies looked, I don't know, stupid and dysfunctional. And I guess their acting was okay, considering how poorly the parts were written. But nothing special. One thing that bothered me, and I don't know if anybody else noticed this, the first third of the movie, I couldn't figure out if the guy was called Kevin or Calvin. Maybe it was their accent, but I kept thinking they were saying Kevin, and the next scene somebody would call him Calvin, and finally I figured out late in the movie, it's really Calvin. But that confused me early on. I didn't understand why they just couldn't say what happened. She said, it took me years of therapy to figure it out. But why didn't she just say? It didn't make any sense to me at all. Just completely dysfunctional people and family and everything. The doctor, I didn't understand either. He kind of looked like a real low... he kind of looked like... remember Trump's doctor and early on that said Trump was, 110% healthy and everything? This guy sounded, looked kind of like him. Remember that guy? I can't remember his name. And I wouldn't trust him anywhere. And he didn't clearly say when he did the abortion what was the results. Was there an alien baby? What was there? That was just fuzzy. They didn't bother, clearing that up. And, again, this is part plot, part characterization. At the end of the movie, as Tom said earlier, I think, Billy, if you watch the last 5 minutes, you don't learn any more. The last 5 minutes, they kind of left it wide open, or they just refused to answer the questions. They just stopped. is what they did. It's like they ran out of money or they ran out of ideas, really. So do you really know what happened? Did they kill the boyfriend? Did they all go off in the spacecraft? Did aliens inhabit the world? We don't really know exactly. It's just not clear. Did they find Did they find bullets for the gun? Who really knows? When she knifed him, did that do him in? Did the alien creatures fix him back up? I mean, they could operate on her, maybe, in the dream. Does that mean they could operate on him and fix him up? Was it really those dream sequences, or did those things really happen? There was just so much left unclear, and I think they meant it that way, because they didn't bother to write out all the details. I don't know. Bad movie. Inside DB. That's all I got.
This is WB50ZL. Yeah, I think it was just bad writing, and they ended it poorly because they just didn't know what else to do, and they hadn't built up a good enough story that they could end it coherently, so they just sort of wallered around in it and gave you a very sloppy ending. Okay, NT5TM, Tony, characterization.
Oh boy, the characterization is the key to everything. Because if the people are interesting, you can learn about them doing almost anything and still be intrigued. How did they do this? The astronaut birthdays this week during Skynet included Paul Weitz, or Weitz, I don't know how he pronounced his name, but he was a Skylab guy. And that reminded me, I've been wanting to reread Homesteading Space for weeks. I should just get it down from the bookshelf and go reread about him and the other Skylab astronauts. And it's just this random guy. He never got a famous flight, but like all astronauts, he was very accomplished. His story can make me interested. These people, no. Their story did not make me interested. I could not even remember which name went with which female character. Oh, and as for that man. People say the TrafficNet preamble was more enthusiasm than he delivered his lines. It was just, he was terrible. He was wooden. He was unpleasant. At first, I thought that he would be a good candidate for HAL 9000 in a Space Odyssey remake, but then I realized that that's wrong, because HAL 9000 is a difficult part. You have to be a little bit inhuman, but also a little bit human. You're kind of not doing it right. You kind of don't quite understand it. But you're trying. It's not your fault you killed most of the crew. Maybe I just need to take a stress pill or something. So he's not even cut out to be the voice of the robotic HAL 9000. He just wasn't any good at all. So that was the big reason I couldn't finish the movie. The characters were completely uninteresting. Obscure astronauts most people have never heard of are 1,000 times more interesting. And so here I am reading about Paul Weitz and hoping I never finish this movie. NT5TM.
All right, KG5BZW. Jay, go ahead, characters.
This is KU5BCW. I should have written this down. Briefly, though, I will comment on what Bill said. It actually was, for me, it was pretty clear that it was Calvin throughout the movie, but even the YouTube, I think it was captioned by the YouTube, automatic, the AI captioning thing that they do on some videos. I caught it claiming the name was Kevin as well. So there are some, independent, even a computer can be mistaken on that, the way they were saying it. But anyway, thinking about the characters, I'm trying to remember. There's just this kind of inconsistency from one scene to the next. This next stuff probably could use a little bit more meditation on my part, but at one point, it's like one scene she was immediately traumatized and scared, and the next she seemed perfectly fine. Now, I admit, if you suffered any type of trauma, that could, actually happen, that, you're not all sad or all, scared or whatnot. So it's like you gotta have a allow for a little bit of that, but it just it went back and forth in kind of insane way between which characters were, if any way of putting it, sane or not. The guy, I don't know what the guy was ever saying. I think the guy was, the whole. I'm going to say the reason that he thought that device was of any value was that he was already under his control, and it was just that's not exactly a compliment to the ladies that they didn't say. No, you're being a real dumb butt here. Oh man! And then of course there's the what was it? The ads that. Oh, we don't. Oh, that. I already mentioned. I'm not being very with my words here, but none of the characters were really terribly human. It just. It's so weird. I'll just leave on that. KQ5 BCW.
Okay, Camp. Yes, Billy, characterization.
I think there was a lot of missed opportunity to get us to care about the characters. They were very bland and predictable, just like the plot. I agree, Tony, I laughed out loud at your comment about the traffic net preamble. I agree, I've heard more heartfelt readings of scripts than I have this man who's supposed to be acting out a script. It was pretty contrived and very wooden. I didn't feel any chemistry between the characters at all, even the ones that were supposed to be getting married. I felt no love between them. It was very cold and detached, just like the sisters were very detached, but they obviously had reasons because they hadn't interacted and they had all this weirdness and kind of family friction, but I think they could have done a better job of depicting that family friction, at least, to get us to get some sympathy going. They could have showed the younger sister's closeness with the mom and had some flashbacks. I think instead of just getting Aunt Linda on the phone, they could have had a meeting at a coffee shop or something and had some face-to-face interaction. I was hoping that the sphere was going to mysteriously reappear in the basement. Instead of her, having to go out and, it reappeared finally with her at whatever hotel she was at, but I thought it would have been creepier if it would have just materialized back in the basement at the house. They just, no matter how hard they tried, they just couldn't get rid of it, I think that would have been a creepier manifestation. I do think that the alien, which they list as the visitor in the credits, was fairly creepy and ominous. Without saying a word, I think that character was better, because we expected, cold, detached, weird from the alien, but not from the humans. It's like I expected more warmth, at least between the married couple, or the engaged couple, I should say. But yeah, there was no, interest in, like, rooting for anybody because it was just kind of there, and you were just kind of like, okay. And I agree with Bill. Yes, Bill, I did finally finish it. I almost turned it off when they showed up with no bullets in the gun, and they're like, you didn't load it? Oh, I got to go find bullets. I almost clicked it off at that moment. I was like, nah, just a few more minutes. Let me stick it out. And I finally get your Rosemary's Baby reference, Bill, so, which is totally predictable at the end, but still, it doesn't have any of the chill that Rosemary's Baby has. That was a truly chilling ending. So, yeah, I think there was just a lot of missed opportunity, no chemistry between the characters, and just missed opportunities to help gain sympathy for the characters. And yeah, I truly agree at the end, it's like they left a lot of it open, like they did this kind of slam bang finish, let's wrap this up. I think it was because they ran out of ideas and money. And I don't know if they were trying to gun for a sequel of any kind, but even the Rosemary's Baby sequel didn't do well. It was just a made-for-TV movie. So I don't see that if this did go for a sequel, that it would do a lot worse than this would. But yeah, it was just weird with a lot of questions at the end. So you don't know what happened with the sister. You don't know what happened with Calvin. And so yeah, did kind of just wrap up with no expectation at all. So anyway, yeah, I feel bland, boring, predictable, just like I did with the plot. Same feeling for the characters. But they had a lot of missed opportunity in the writing to develop it more. So I wish they had developed it more. It would have made it more interesting and suspenseful. So with that, this is KFI-PDS.net.
Okay. KFI-KWG, Cruz, your opinions, please.
KFI-KWG. I don't really have too much to add. Y'all have done a good job of dissecting this, I think. Let's see, I made a few notes while some of y'all were talking. Y'all were talking about the different names. I kept hearing Kelvin is in absolute zero, minus 273 or whatever. And that was the name I kept hearing is Kelvin. But have no idea. I already picked on some of the dialogue to begin with, and there was a YouTube comment that I read suggesting that somebody believed that it may have been written by artificial intelligence. It was that bad. And I've heard some AI stories told and written before, and they're about that bad. And the one that really stood out to me, and again, I didn't watch it, so I may have the characters wrong, but
Testing. November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Is the repeater still working?
Yep, hear you fine, Tony. It's 5 dB, but don't hear anybody else but you.
Okay, I'll be quiet. Hopefully Brenda will be back here in a second. NT5TM.
It looks like Brendan can't hit the repeater anymore. Should we just close the net? Brenda, for whatever reason, nobody can hear you, so I'm just going to leave. 73, good night. 5 dB clear.
I don't know. I think I may have heard Tom's voice in there too, but I'm also starting to wonder if like someone occasionally starts up an arc welder in the building where our repeater is located, because this doesn't make any sense. NT5TM, thank you all for being here. Love listening to your comments. I'm saying goodnight too.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Tom is still here or he just can't hit the repeater. Can you hear me okay, Tony?
You're slightly crackly, but you're totally understandable, yeah.
You're all scratchy, too. KF5W.
Well, you are a little bit too, Bill. I don't know. Must be at the repeater side. Anyway, good evening. It's 5 dB clear.